Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, the podcast where James Bale talks to Tim Ford about triathlon. That is James Bale. I am Tim Ford. Jimbo, I'm going to let you talk so those people who are not watching us on YouTube understand the other guy is not a figment of my imagination. How are you?
Two people, mate. That's what it took to cover me last week. I do
Uh,
the work of two people.
Not just two people, mate. Two of the better athletes going around these days. Both multiple, we have very good athletes. I can't be bothered trying to read off their resumes. They're not here right now.
Multiple
You're right,
winners,
mate.
multiple triathlon winners. Let's just say that, shall we?
Between them, they've won lots of races.
Yeah, life isn't bad, man. Life isn't bad. I'm currently in Bristol and looking forward to talking some triathlon because I felt like I was left out last week. I felt I know I was on holiday, but I missed out. I missed out.
It's not the same without you, mate. Like you said, it was. I had to get two people on to do it, and peek behind the curtain. And I know that Joe listens. Some they were meant to come. I was trying to get them on together, and it was going to be like the three of us discussing. But because I know that Tyler was in Hamburg, and I thought, oh, it's going to be brilliant. They're both in Europe, but Tyler flew out on the Monday, and then trying to actually find a time that worked for all of them, like, was just becoming impossible. So then I thought I'd just use Joe, but I love Joe, but yeah, it's a little difficult trying to plan with him sometimes. So I thought, as a
I
backup,
you, you
I'm going to
don't
get
say.
Tyler. So I got Tyler, and I thought, okay, that way, at least and it worked well because then when I actually did get Joe, he only had about 40 minutes. So I was like, whew, just as well I pre-planned
Dodge
for
that.
this situation.
Dodge
Exactly.
that. No, it was a good episode. I had a listen. It was a really good episode. I had a listen on my drive back from my trip to the Grim North, and yeah, it was good. It was good. They've got a lot of insight. I do like their perspectives, and I appreciated them subbing in for me.
It's really unfair to hear you call Swansea the Grim North, mate. Again, I know that we have many listeners from Wales, and they're probably going to take offence at the fact that you're talking about their. I mean, again, people may not be aware of this. I know I certainly am because I once referred to a Welsh person as English. It's a different country, so
I was I was talking about Cumbria, but
I'm aware. I'm just teasing you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Swansea was mate. Swansea was beautiful. I had not much, spent much time in Swansea. I used to have years and years ago, back in the dark old days of doing different jobs. I used to have an office in Newport, which is in Wales. And Newport is grim, but it's the grim south. And I always assumed Swansea was similar. I know Cardiff was nice, but it was such a banging weekend. A bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky, hot as all fuck.
Fuck's
And
sake.
uh, and you could see the. Sorry, I'm not meant to swear this early, am
No,
I?
that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about you guys saying it's so hot and it's probably like 24 degrees. It's like, come on now.
And it was about 26, 20. No, it was verging on 30 degrees, I think.
Jesus, mate, what the
I know,
hell are you going to do?
I know.
How are you
Well,
going to survive, James?
we st
People are
we
falling
start
over.
we start to frazzle. Um, and the clear view across to Devon, you could see the North Devon coast, and it was a beautiful day, beautiful day. I wore a hat all day, obviously, because baldy gonna burn in that sort of situation. And yeah, it was nice. You know what it's like though. It's frantic when you're on a race course and you're not just spectating, but you're there trying to assist and help and carry bikes around and all this shit. And come about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I just faded, man. I was gone. I was done. I
That
needed nap
was
time.
that was me at Challenge Roth. I had all these grand plans of doing all this stuff after the race, and I was so knackered, and I hadn't even done the race because I'd covered the entire course basically either through the bus or, I was riding around the run course, and I got to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I just went, I'm done. I'm going home.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out of here.
It's like there is no particular spike in adrenaline. There's just this increase in adrenaline on a very consistent basis throughout the day, and it just leaves you absolutely drained come the end. I was thinking initially I was planning to go out for dinner with Andy and his family and stuff, but I just called it at about half 4, 5 o'clock and drove to Bristol and sat in my hotel for the evening.
I get it, mate. I get it. Thinking about talking triathlon, that's what you do when you're on the road on your own. But didn't get to do it last week. If you guys want to hear more talking triathlon, we will be recording a bonus episode in the next week or so. You head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. I think we have plenty of scuffs. I'm quite keen to discuss Challenge Roth, the behind the scenes of Challenge Roth, talk about how many times I got screamed at, all
Yeah,
those funny
we
stories
do a
and things
bonus
like that.
episode, don't we? Get one recorded.
We certainly
It's
do.
been a hot minute.
It has, and we'll get that done in the next, probably over the next week. So yeah, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. You also get the WhatsApp group, which has been on fire lately. So much Tour de France chat in there. And again, I don't bother in getting involved because I know too much and I don't want to make our patrons feel bad about themselves. But that's where to go. Jimbo, let's start with what is something that is very important to discuss, but probably not that interesting to discuss. And it is I saw this, and I have to give full credit to the guys at ProTri News for this because I wasn't even aware that this was happening. I guess I haven't had my finger on the pulse enough lately, but there has been some drama at World Triathlon. Now, have you, in fact, before we hit recording, we were sort of talking about what we were going to talk. I told you about this, and you weren't even aware of it, were you?
No, you just said a minute ago. One of the things you wanted to talk about was the drama at World Triathlon, and I was like, you know, just generally, you know, website, I don't know. Something's happened, and I don't know what it is.
Water's wet. Drama
Yeah,
with World Triathlon, like
yeah,
big shock.
exactly.
No. So there was, I think we covered it last year. I assume we would have covered it last year, or maybe we just found it not interesting enough to talk about. But there was elections held for World Triathlon. Marisol Casado had to move aside because she'd reached the end of her allowed time as the president of World Triathlon, and elections were held. And since then, the Court of Arbitration of Sport, or CAS as it's called, has confirmed corruption in those elections. So I'm not going to get into the very, very complicated. I haven't read the judgments. It's funny because when I saw this and I realized I was like, I actually might read the judgment, and I have taken no further actions. Maybe I'm not that interested. Like before we get into the specific, I'm not surprised. Like I have, this is what I think I'm finding quite disappointing about this, and this isn't specific to World Triathlon, but I know that when I was studying law and I did sports law and I did sports law and sponsorship and all these things, that the message we just kept getting told was how corrupt, like, that the Olympics is one of the most corrupt organizations on the planet, that FIFA is one of the most corrupt organizations on the planet. I think you just get to this point where you just sort of assume that these federations are corrupt. And to hear that it's World Triathlon, it's not like, oh, I'm shocked. It's like, yeah,
No,
here we go again.
no, we just kind of live with it, don't we? We live with this assumption that there is a degree of corruption. And I mean, this is an assumption, but if you were to probably make two graphs, one which charted the amount of corruption and one which charted the amount of money in a sport, they probably skirt a very similar pathway.
Imagine if it's like, I don't know, what's a really like sport that doesn't have a lot of like lawn bowls. And imagine if like the International Federation of Lawn Bowls is just like super corrupt as
Yeah,
well. But it's like,
gravy train.
why? Why? Anyway, so what was the corruption? So again, thank you. This, if you guys want to find out the details, head to the ProTri News Instagram channel. But prior to the election being held, basically they organized like groups were sort of what we say lobbying behind the things to have like a preferred list of candidates, and then some candidates were basically forced to step down, and others were sort of told to vote for certain people. So it was this because basically what's meant to every federation is meant to have a vote and independently choose the person that they want to have represent World Triathlon, and it, it doesn't. That's basically not what happened, right? It sounds like there was backhand deals happening, secret handshakes, a whole bunch of things to basically give certain people a better chance of coming out on top, basically. So it's not, it's like, to be honest, it just sort of sounds like this is what happens in a lot of these things. But the fact that it's gone to Court of Arbitration of Sport and it's been found, and there's now, I think, sanctions or warnings or something's been applied on World Triathlon. Uh,
Was their money changing hands? Was it that sort of corruption, or was this more sort of implicit kind of stuff?
I don't have the details of that. I
Right.
don't know. Basically, let's read between the lines. It might not be cash, but it might be like a certain event might go to a certain country if they vote a certain way, things like that. Again, allegedly, everything is alleged. I don't know the details. I haven't looked into it enough yet. Um, but basically, CAS found that the whole election process was fundamentally compromised. So yeah, rules were broken. Everything was done. So what's next? I don't know. To be honest, from what they're saying here, there's pressure from athletes, federations, and officials to a new election with independent oversight. Currently removing or removing the current leaders, and then major reforms. I think that is a good idea, but I don't want to talk about the specifics so much because, like, again, once you start to get into this, it can get very legal if we're not careful, and I don't think people particularly care about that. I think more what I would like to discuss with you is the implications or how you feel about this and what you can see, or I guess, yeah, what you're, I don't know. I just want to have a discussion about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, it's one of those things that we all kind of internalize, don't we? That there is a degree of backdealing, you know, there's a peek behind the curtain in this instance, but normally there is a lot we don't know that goes on when it comes to the politics of the world and when it comes to the politics of sport. And it's really unfortunate, but events that we've seen take place over the years within World Triathlon wouldn't lead me to ever believe that they're any different to any other sporting governing body, sporting federations. And there's money involved. And when there's money involved and it's an Olympic sport and there's funding involved, you're gonna have a really unfortunate background setup. And you see that. I mean, I have dealings with British Tri. I have dealings with Brit Tri with athletes. I work with athletes. I support people I talk to, and even on a very basic level, they're not very good at their job, mate. They don't do what they say they're going to do well. They don't tell athletes on time when they're going to get selected for an event that may be 4 or 5 weeks away that they've been working towards for like a year. They don't, the deadline passes on the Friday and then maybe they get in touch on the Tuesday and say, oh, well, it's only, we're only on the Tuesday. We're only a few days late. Shit like that. And if that's happening at the base level, then that just ripples all the way up because it comes from the top, in my opinion, the way organizations are run and dealt with.
Yeah, I want to mirror what you're saying because I'm going to try to be as vague as possible here because I don't want to give away any. I have had a lot of dealings with different federations, and very few of those dealings have ever been positive. I
Yeah.
have, I have had to instigate legal proceedings on behalf of a client who was then the federation basically said, if you proceed with this, there are consequences for others. I had to go through or almost go through a legal process with another federation because they changed the selection criteria for Olympics after the athlete had satisfied that. And then, I mean, even today, I had a client telling me that they were being bullied by their federation because they'd chosen to find their own training group and they were being bullied by the federation to follow the line. Otherwise, they weren't going to get Olympic funding. Like just this stuff when I'm like, what? And I mean, every single time I'm like, let me get involved. Let me get involved. I'm happy to get involved. And yeah, it is par for the course at this point, right? Like I know that we have, and I sometimes forget which ones we've said publicly, which ones have been Patreon episodes, but I know that we have ranted a lot about the impact of World Triathlon, just from a commercial point of view, the fact that they limit things so badly. Um, it's terrible, and to hear this stuff, it really doesn't surprise me. Like, I mean, at a glance, right? If you see this and go, oh, there's people behind the scenes trying to influence people's decisions, you'd be like, that's every election that's ever happened in the
Yeah.
history of the world.
Anything. Yeah, exactly.
But I also think as well, when you look at the setup or how World Triathlon it's sort of positioned in the sport, because World Triathlon is funded through the Olympics. So World Triathlon is never going to fail because the IOC isn't going to let it fail because it's an Olympic sport. And that's why we have this situation where all these people are doing these things because the IOC basically funnels money. So does the government. I understand it's much more complicated than that, but it's kind of this system that's set up that can't fail, and therefore it gives them this ridiculous amount of power because they've got the Olympics, which means there's no real obligation on World Triathlon to ever improve. And as such, the federations also sort of don't need to because it's like there's not really an accountability, right? Because yeah, as long as it's linked to the Olympics, the athletes do whatever they need to jump through the hoops to get to the Olympics. It's
Yeah,
just
I
it's
mean,
a very bad
I,
setup.
I have, again, being as vague as possible. I've worked with athletes. I've spoken to athletes who, you know, get their selection late for races. Elite athletes, so we're not talking age group. Let's get their selection late for races they're meant to be selected for. Get overcharged for those races accidentally by British Triathlon.
Have to pay. Explain that to me. Like it's
Yeah. They've had I know of people who have been charged double by British Triathlon, who then spoken to the race organizers and said it's not that much. And then a British Triathlon have been like, oh, sorry, we'll refund you.
in
And you're
7 to
like,
10 days.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just reading their code of conduct now. Point four on their code of conduct says tri staff and officials will never take part in, contribute to, or tolerate corruption, attempts to influence any personal process by offering, giving, receiving, or soliciting advantages of any kind. Reference to World Triathlon anti-corruption policy. And so
Uh,
it sounds like they've broken their own code of conduct,
yeah.
which and there's a direct link to that on Antonio Homani's profile page. So, if you're going to have a direct link to something on your profile page, you should well read it first, eh? Antonio, you
Yeah.
listening, bud?
Like I said, I don't know the specifics of this. I've not talked to anybody. I've spoken to anybody. I haven't even looked at the judgment yet. I will attempt to sit down and do this when I have a bit of time. Um, but I think my main point is that a sport this small, that is still, I think, very much in its infancy in terms of actually trying to become a legitimate sport that is self-sustaining and doesn't rely on participation to fund it and things. There's so much fuckery going on that like we act like a sport that is we're not FIFA, we're not football, we're not tennis, we're not golf.
We haven't earned that level of corruption yet, have we?
Correct, exactly.
You got to earn
it. Exactly. We have to earn that corruption. We haven't quite got there, but yes, it is bad. I very much appreciate the guys at Pro Tri News shining light on this. I think it is, they're probably the biggest triathlon podcast out there at the moment. And I think the fact that they're not afraid to shy away from this stuff means we're talking about it now as well, which is good. Yeah, so I just want to give those guys absolute credit for bringing this to my attention. And I hope that all of us, because to be honest, if any of us are members of our federation, most of us need to have a membership to race. You're directly linked to this somehow. Like, you might be, I'm a member of Triathlon Australia, for example.
Yeah.
So it all links. And
I don't want to be a member of British Triathlon, but I am because they got all my coaching qualifications. Not all of them, some of them. A good large percentage of them. So I have to pay fucking 90 quid a year or something.
yeah,
Whatever.
it's not, again, I think I just want to make that point again. And like, I know I've said this before in the past about Ironman, and I'll say the same thing here. And, I know that we have a platform, but we have a decent number of listeners. Ultimately, if we want to see changes, we can't just consistently be complacent. I think it is, contact your federation, tell them you're not happy. If you don't need don't just let your race license or your membership renew every year if you're not satisfied. Maybe consider switching to one-day licenses if you're racing. Like, there's things we can do to actually make them go, no, we're not happy. This isn't good enough. And yeah. Anyway, let's move on to something else because again, this could be we could look honestly. I was tempted. And I am tempted to actually spend a whole episode really going. I'm even thinking I might go away and analyze the judgment and get into it, but I don't think people would find it as interesting as I would.
Also, both of us could sit here and tell many stories that would last an hour's long episode of different interactions.
I mean, yeah, a story, right? A story that is not. I'm not the one to tell this story. This has been told on his own podcast. I was part of it. Was Joe's issue with World Triathlon, British Triathlon, with his long distance worlds thing, where we got told he had to wear their race kit, even though he had his own sponsor. I went through the rules, found that there was no obligation for him to wear their sponsor. That was a made up rule, and it was because they had an arrangement with a company who tried to charge Joe £500 for the faster kit. In the end, we got another company to make his kit with his logos on it, and nobody said anything. And then they tried to make him pay for his entry, and it was like this whole thing. And that's why Joe races for US Triathlon now, because like British Triathlon basically said, unless you pay us this money, kind of hold a pro athlete to ransom. He was like, well, I'm going to find. Yeah. So look, you're right. There's so many stories we could tell, and I'll be honest, I've not dealt with World Triathlon. I have dealt with World Triathlon. I've had to deal with their legal counsel a few times, but the fish rots from the head, I think, most of the time. So
yeah, it does. It does rot from the head down.
Let's move on. Do you want to talk about T100 London? I don't even know why not, but let's talk about it.
The first thing we need to talk about before we get on to T100 London is talk about Anne Haug, mate, and her announcement to retire.
That is a better thing to talk about. Anne Haug's announcement to retire has hit the press today.
She had a DNF at Ironman Vitoria-Gasteiz on the 13th of July. And after that, she's come out and said, quote, "My will is broken in that race. It's broken in general. That's very shocking, but the day had to come at some point. I've made a rule for myself for 20 years. I'd never drop out of a race, no matter how tough it gets. Out of respect for my fellow competitors, I was always very clear. If I break that rule, it's over. I would have wanted it to be different. I would have liked to compete at the World Championships, but it's not possible anymore. Which is a bit of a change of heart from a few weeks ago after Challenge on the broadcast on Challenge Roth. She'd said, "I'm still improving numbers wise, but I want to feel the work I put in reflects my performance," and that she had no intention of retiring. But yeah, it's a real loss for the sport, and it was quite surprising for me. I was quite shocked because I was expecting her to go to the World Championships this year and have that race. And I know that she 42.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise.
It's funny because I don't even know why. I think it was maybe a couple of weeks ago. I was thinking, I haven't heard much from Anne Haug recently. Like I wonder, and I was actually Googling like, has Anne Haug retired or something? And there wasn't much information. And then I know that yeah, she withdrew or pulled out of that race a couple of weeks ago and sort of vanished, right? Like there was Iron memes were talking there was memes about how she just literally like walks off the course and nobody hears from her again. I'm not as surprised, only because she is the age that she is, and I've been surprised she's continued. Not just that she's continued at the level that she's continued at for as long as she has. I still think though that you think about one of the things I've enjoyed discussing with you a lot this year is how we think Kona's going to go. And I think if people listen back, we've not really spoken about it and how in any of those conversations because I also find it very funny that the sport has such a short memory and we're very quick to get distracted by the new shiny thing. But more than that, I just want to again acknowledge the significant contribution that she's made to the sport and how is a legend of triathlon. You know,
Yeah.
she was doing the fast run thing in women's triathlon in long course before anyone else. You know, she has been such a significant figure in the sport. And it's that thing again for me where throughout my period of being a triathlon fan, we're seeing those athletes that sort of rose to prominence now retire. And it's making me feel a little bit old about myself too. But no,
Yeah.
I want to congratulate Anne Haug on a incredible career. Um,
Yeah, really, really interesting career as well. She only turned professional at the age of 27. Um, and then she won Kona in 2019 by chasing down Lucy Charles. So it's the long course that's really, I mean, she represented Germany in two Olympic Games, but it's the
yep.
long course where she made her name. And yeah, really stunning career with some amazing results and just like you say, a pioneer of that really fast running we see in the long course.
I remember we interviewed Anne Haug years ago
Yeah.
for the MX
She's very
podcast.
lovely.
But that's what I was going to say. I remember being quite intimidated about it just because she seemed very German. And I think the second we started, even before we hit recorder, I think she was so lovely that it really sort of disarmed me a bit. I was like, wow, she's so friendly. And even after she was an athlete, there's some people we've interviewed where literally it's like, yep, we're going, yep, cool, record, okay, bye, they're gone. Where there's some, I know that you've talked about Sebastian Keane there, for example, where they just don't want to go. And you're almost
Really
like,
fun. Couldn't get rid of
hey,
him.
sorry, I got to go. And Anne Haug was one of those athletes where even after we finished the interview, she just kept talking to us. And I remember just being like, this woman is a legend.
Yeah,
And
really
yeah,
friendly, really kind human being, and one of the best athletes we've had in the sport ever.
yeah. So congratulations on a truly remarkable career, Anne Haug. It has been a pleasure to watch you race. And yeah, the sport, you know, so many of those like her, she's going. We're seeing Danny's gone. Yeah, it's sport's better
It's
because of
making
them.
me feel old as well, but there's still life in the old dog yet, mate.
I actually think is Anne Haug one of our pictures on the YouTube intro. I'm gonna have to make sure that they're not all retired. We might have to update that again. I think she is. I think she might be one of the pictures. I can't remember.
Yeah, we need to update that YouTube video soon.
Yeah, we will. James, is it time now to should we talk about? I mean, there's so many things to talk about this week. Where do you want to go from there?
Yeah.
I'm going to let
I
you
mean,
lead it.
there's a few things happening at T100 London. A few news things have been released. Hayden Wilde is meant to be making his comeback at T100 London. So that's one in. And he said, August 9th is definitely a possibility. My focus is on taking things one day at a time and not to have a specific return date in mind. But every day I'm feeling stronger, fitter, and more confident. And after having had a really positive taste of the T100 in Singapore, it's been frustrating to have to sit and watch the races in San Francisco, Vancouver from the sidelines. So yeah, we got Hayden Wilde intending to make his comeback at T100 London weekend, which is the 9th of August. I will be there that weekend. And it would be good to see him on that start line, certainly to see his recovery play out and be able to see him race again because brutal accident the man had and lucky to get away with it like he did, even though he didn't get away with it hardly at all, but it could have been worse.
I'm disappointed with you. I'm disappointed with you, James Bale, and I'm going to
Yeah,
tell you why.
I think I
Because
know what you're going to say, but
because when we decided we were going to talk about T100 London, I had something that I wanted to start with, and you just didn't give me that opportunity. Because people who follow us on Instagram will have seen that a certain item is on its way to you as we
let's not
speak.
get
It is in the
let's not
air.
get
It is flying on its way to Devon. James, what is that
coach on
item?
this shit.
What is coming your way?
No, firstly, I'm doing the relay, so
Yep,
I'm just doing the run leg, so I've got no need for a tri suit.
you're still wearing it.
Oh no, no,
Yes,
no.
yes, yes, yes.
Um, and
I will
thirdly,
make
I
them. I will contact the T100 and tell them to disqualify your team unless you wear that trice. I will talk to Tom. Tom, I know you listen. I'm talking to you directly now, Tom. If he doesn't wear this tri suit, disqualify his team.
time is deducted. Yeah, it's good actually. We were invited as Talking Triathlon to enter a relay team into the T100 London. So I've got together a small team to do that. We've got Lewis is going to be doing the swim, Lucy's going to be doing the bike, and I will be doing the run. As things stand, I think I'm still doing the run at this point. We're
If not,
racing Tim Heck.
if not, you whatever happens, you're wearing it at. So you can either wear it around just generally, or you can wear it in the race, mate.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Tim Hemming is entering a team.
Or
And
should Tim wear
so
it? Should we give him the kid? He can wear it.
I think, and Michael Dorst is entering a team as well.
Is he?
So the smack talk has already begun. Um,
Now, again, I noticed you're trying to. So, again, for people who don't follow us on Instagram, I just want to paint you a picture of what this kid is. Last year, you may have seen that James did a race, a 10-kilometer race, where for whatever reason, he screamed in every photo. And then you would have seen last year, he raced in an
not
all
just every
white suit.
photo, mate. From gun to tape, I was screaming.
And then last year, you would have seen, if you saw the photo of the kit that he wore at the T100, it was an all white kit with some strategically placed screaming faces on the kit. This year, it is a kit covered in James's screaming face. And
I mean, from a distance, it kind of looks like the polka dot
correct.
skin, and I would be there for that. I'd happily wear a polka dot skin suit, but on closer and the closer you get, the worse it gets. And when I got that email saying that they were sending
So
me a
it's
tri suit, I was like, my brain just went, oh, I might have a nice new tri suit. Finally, a nice new tri suit to wear that isn't shit. And yeah, and it's covered in me, and I'm just not into it. I want a nice new a black tri suit with the Talking Triathlon logo on it.
I'll
I'm
get
here
that
for
for
that.
you. I give you my okay.
You know how slimming a white tri suit isn't?
I promise the next tri suit I get for you from our patrons, because they're the ones who fund it, will be a black tri suit that will have the Talking Triathlon logo on it. I
But
give you
no
my
face,
word.
no,
I can't.
no face.
I can't promise that. That's too big an ask. Maybe less than this one. But look, let's move
But
back to the. Yep.
funnily enough, let me segue from that to another little story then we'll go back to Hayden. Dulst messaged me and said that he was entering a team, and I said, "Cool, so are we." He made a joke about having Michael Phelps in his team, so I said, "Oh, we've got Adam Peaty doing our swim," and it transpires that Adam Peaty is actually entering the Olympic T100.
Can you imagine Michael Dill's reaction when he actually sees that news? So you've told him he's like, ah, piss off, James, and then he sees the
Yeah,
headline.
yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I was like, he's just like, oh, I've got Michael Phelps doing it, and I'm like, well, I've got Adam Peaty. 2 days later, Adam Peaty's doing the T100. And he must have just double took for a second and been like, is he?
What the?
Is he racing in
Did
James's
I thought
team?
he was joking.
But no, Adam Peaty's come out and said that who's a three-time Olympic gold medalist. He said he's going to be doing the Olympic race at the T100 London, which is quite interesting because one of our patrons, Ollie, is doing the Olympic race, and
Is
so
that
I'm
what we
looking
call
for.
Ollie? I thought Ollie had a nickname.
No, yeah, sorry, one of our patrons, Shit Shorts. His who will forever be known as Shit Shorts because the first time I met him, he was wearing really shit shorts.
Yeah, he didn't shit his pants, guys.
I'm looking forward to those two standing next to each other on the start line. The difference in physique is going to be quite striking. Yeah.
Given that, yeah. Look, I don't know who Adam Peaty is, to be honest, so it doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm sure it's good for. I didn't even know you
He's
guys had a three-time gold medalist, to be honest. I'm quite
stacked,
impressed.
stacked to fuck, mate. He's
Is,
like built
does he look
breaststroker.
like James Magnuson did when he was doing those enhanced games? Because that was horrific.
That was horrific. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Back to Hayden Wilde, because
Back
you
to
did.
Hayden Wilde.
I don't believe Hayden's going to race T100 London. I think it is too soon. And if I mean, I say this, I haven't seen what Sam Laidlow did in Roth. The videos and stuff that I've seen Hayden put out doesn't look like he's anywhere near ready. And I don't think Hayden's just going to do it for the sake of it. I think that he's not going to come back to race until he's actually ready, especially an event like the T100. If he, I would love to see him there. I got the impression from the way that he put this out after the start list was announced that it was almost like he wasn't happy that they'd announced him on it. Like this kind of felt like a sort of I'm trying to step it back. I hope he's back, but yeah, I'd be surprised if I
Yeah.
mean if he's back and he wins the thing, it's incredible. What a comeback story. He's lucky to get
His his quote. So I'm feeling a bit stronger, more confident, and really positive taste. 100. I'm frustrated to sit and watch San Francisco. August 9th is definitely a possibility. His quote is at odds with the headline.
mm,
The headline is triathlon superstar Hayden Wilde will make shock comeback at T100. His quote is more vague than that and gives him wiggle room to not race. Um, and so yeah, I think it is there is definitely it's not certain. It's not certain, but it would be, you know, sport is sport, pro athletes. Hayden Wilde's someone I've got a lot of time for, and just seeing him be able to race again after that accident will be really good
I
because no one
fully
wants
agree.
any accident, and it was horrific, and it could have been so much worse.
I'll be
So
honest. I saw a video of Hayden swimming a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month. I can't remember how long ago it was, but he was swimming open water, and it looked so painful and hard for him that I genuinely thought we might not see him come back. Like I hope, and this is I'm not trying to put out negativity. I hope that this is not the case. But it looked like he was so far from being better that I thought, God, I hope he like I don't know what it's like to recover from a busted scapula, but it can't be easy, especially for something like swimming. And I thought, man, yeah, it doesn't look good. But I hope we see him back as soon as possible. I just don't want him to rush it. So,
yeah.
um, should we go through the start list?
Following that, before we get to the start list, someone
Oh,
who is not racing T100 London is Vince Louis. He has announced that an ultrasound came to challenge Roth after a month off running to do it due to a tear in his calf. Unfortunately, after 5 kilometers in the marathon, I felt a sharp pain. An ultrasound confirmed a tear in my soleus and another one in the other part of the calf I can't pronounce. It was a slow comeback to training. It was needed anyway after my full distance. I will skip T100 London, but the season is still long. So that's a real shame. Um, because Vince has been going up through the gears. What he did at Roth, I thought was awesome. You know, it was a lot better than I thought he was going to get on,
same.
and he seemed to really step up. What I didn't like was his tri-suit and helmet combination in San Francisco. I think he looked like a pen.
A pen. What sort of pen?
Pen. Well, like a red pen with a gold nib. He just looks like
Um,
a pen.
okay.
I
Um,
appreciate the way he's expressed himself through his different helmet and tri-suit
let's not
combinations, though.
talk about the helmet.
I
Let's
also
not talk about
enjoy
the
the
helmet.
fact that you get mildly annoyed whenever we mention the helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a few emails about those helmets. Yeah, no, I saw this and again, very upsetting. The other reality is Vince is also like, yeah, at the later stages of his career. I think people forget how old Vincent Louis is. Um, I worry that what happens in Roth could maybe influence his decision in terms of long distance races. I've heard whispers that Vince has one big goal left and they might sort of be done with triathlon. I hope it's not true because I love seeing Vincent Louis race. But to be honest, I don't think he's going to be missed at T100. He's been made irrelevant at the two that he's done. Um, yeah, I think there's other races I'd rather see Vince. You're right. The way he did Roth, I just like to see him do a bunch of Ironmans now because I thought he was very, very good at Roth. Whereas he's not featured in any of the T100 race he has done does as of yet. So Yeah, hope he heals. Hope we see him racing again. I'd like to see him do another Ironman this year. I mean, I'd love to see him do Nice just because it's a home world champs and he's French and he didn't get to go to the Olympics last year. So this is the last time
Yeah.
Ironman world champs is going to be in France. So it could be great to see him there. But yeah, I don't know. Do you reckon they give him a wild card?
What for Nice?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, they have demonstrated many times that they're not bound by any sort of rules or anything like that, so they can do what they want, can't they?
Would you let us know on YouTube if you'd be happy to have Vincent Louis get a wild card for Nice? I know that world champs for Ironman is a very hot topic in terms of wild cards.
I don't think
I
anybody can get wild cards for these things, but that's just me. If you're gonna
okay,
give, if we
no.
live in a world where you're gonna give people wild cards, then yeah, give Vince Louis a wild card. But I don't think any athlete should be granted a wild card for the World Championships.
The only one that gets wild cards currently, I believe, are the Olympic champions and 70.3 champions. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean that's cool, but I don't think based on who you are, you should get a wild card.
It's fair. I don't know. I'd like to see him race it. Should he do it through a wild card? No, but then if it's he's not going to, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Vince there. Maybe. I don't know. I'd like to see what people think. Don't
I
come
would
at me.
like to see Vince there as well. That doesn't mean I'm going to break my belief that you shouldn't get a wild card.
That's fair. I don't
You know,
disagree.
I
Let's
feel
get
like
let's
both things can exist at once. I think he
they
should be there to see him there, but I don't think athletes should be granted wild cards based on just wanting them at races.
but they
It
are allowed
stuff.
to ratify by being disqualified during a race and finishing anyway. So
No, no, not that either. No, Jesus Christ!
let's see what happens.
I'm going to run for Lord
World Tri-
Emperor Triathlon now and get my gravy train going.
Yeah, we should. Let's get into the World Triathlon. That's what our next move is. Let's go through the start list for London T100, which has been confirmed. In the women's, we have Taylor Knibb, Ash Gentle, Julie Derrin, Hannah Berry, Lizzie Rayner, Lucy Byram, Lucy Charles-Barclay, India Lee, Kate Curran, Grace Alexander, Daniela Kleiser, Holly Lawrence, Caroline Pole, Ellie Salthouse, Els Visser, Hannah Devet, Georgia Taylor Brown, Lisa Perterier, Laura Madsen, Kate Woff, Jessica Learmonth. Not racing Paula Finlay, Emma Pallant Brown, Marta Sanchez, Grace Steck, Taylor Spivey, Flora Duffy. What do you think of the women's, mate?
Yeah, I mean it's a strong field, isn't it? It's a deep field. Um, Taylor Knibb obviously going in as a hot favorite. Interesting to see if Ash Gentle can stem this kind of stem the
Losing?
tide, yeah,
Losing?
of not doing as well as she used to
Yeah.
at these kind of races. Um, Julie Derrin, obviously big name going in. Holly Lawrence, I'm very intrigued by her journey in the sport at the moment and loving seeing her kind of renaissance, I suppose would be the word. Just coming back to it, doing the long distance stuff. Um, Kate Woff, obviously a name that's won a race. Interested to see what form she can carry into this one. And I'm very excited to see Lizzie Rayner on the start list. I think that's she's been showing what she's made of and great to see her there with a start at a T100 race.
No, I think that that's all very valid points. The name that I'm very interested to see is Georgia Taylor Brown, mostly because we signed her for Supertri and now she's racing a T100, which I didn't know about. Uh, no, I think Georgia Taylor Brown could be very, very good at this distance. She won, was it last year? She won Bahrain 70.3.
Yeah,
She, to me, is that sort of athlete that's going to do well at middle distance because she's quite complete. Very good biker, good runner, good swimmer. Like doesn't have an obvious weakness. I think the fact that again, one of those athletes I see more as a speed athlete, kind of like a Jess Limont. I think Georgia, I just don't know where she's at. I was surprised to see how she went at Hamburg, where she was sixth, I think, in a sprint race. I'm used to seeing her probably further up, but from everything she puts on social, she's sort of not really been specific at anything at the moment. So, uh, Super Try this weekend. It's going to be fascinating to see where she's at. Then go into this. Yeah, I'm very interested to see Georgia is the thing I'm interested in the women's race for this event because she could
definitely.
win the thing. She could win the thing, or she could just not feature. I don't know because it was kind of like Sophie Caldwell last year raced London, and it gave me that same level of interest. And yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'd say it's even more than that. Sophie Cole was an amazing athlete, but I think Georgia Taylor Brown, she does bring with her that sort of real X factor of she
Mm,
could just turn up and be absolutely amazing at this because whatever she turns her hand to, she appears to be really fucking good at it.
yeah.
And and she will shape that she will have an impact on this race whether she wins it or not. Because of aura she carries with her. And Lucy Charles-Barclay's on the start list as well, and that's always an interesting addition to a race.
A what? What does
Yeah,
she
yeah.
have?
Move past it. I don't know how to say that word. Fine.
Aura.
Aura.
Uh, Aura. Maybe that's the Australian pronunciation. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. In the men's, we
No,
have
no,
Kyle
I
Smith.
constantly corrected on that word.
Ura, aura, hooah,
Yeah.
hooah. Like Al Pacino. Kyle Smith, Rico Bogan, Mino Koolhaas, Yella Gaines, Wilhelm Hirsch, Matisse Magerier, Peter Heimrich, Yuri Kulin, Frederick Funk, Mika Newt, Gregory Barnaby, Justus Nischlag, Antonio Benito Lopez, Jamie Riddle, Nicholas Mann, Hayden Wilde, Leah Berger, Harry Palmer, Panagiotis Bitidos, William Draper. Not racing, Jason West, Sam Long, Martin Van Riel, Morgan Pearson, Vincent Louis.
Good start list. I like it. I like it. I
Good,
think
good contribution, James. There
yeah,
we
cheers,
go.
mate.
Podcast
No, well, I
over.
mean, I'm intrigued by Harry Palmer's inclusion
I
because
love it.
obviously he won in Swansea weekend gone, and I think he is going up through the gears. He's an athlete that there's a lot to watch there, and if he can carry that form that he had in Swansea across to the T100, then I think he could have a real impact on this race. We've already discussed Hayden Wilde and his possible inclusion. I'm with you. I'm on the fence on that one, whether he's actually going to be there or not to race. But but yeah, and again, a bit of Pagnotis Bitidos. Who doesn't love that name?
It's true. It's true. I'm really happy to see Jamie Riddle back on a T100 start list. He really did make an impact in San Francisco in the race there. And we saw him go and do his second Ironman of the year in Cairns and feature quite strongly there as well. I think that Jamie is this athlete that is just getting better every time he races, which I love to see. So I think Jamie is definitely one to watch. Uh, yeah, I'm disappointed not to see Martin Van Riel racing, but I think he's focusing on Nice now. So, and that's not him. That's just the way that they've set up the season, where you can do a couple of races and go away and focus on something else. His I get Aura, as this like incredible 70.3 athlete, I think has diminished a little bit just because he now has so many like Yellow Gaines and these sort of athletes who are even Rico Bogan are sort of consistently being there, or they're beating him, or I don't think Martin's not won a race yet this year. I don't think, has he?
No.
Um,
It is strange seeing a T100 start list on the men's side without Martin Van Riel on it.
yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like his absence leaves a bigger impact than any of the wildcard signups to me a little bit. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, he really is missing. Morgan Pearson, I would have liked to see. I feel like we haven't really seen. Morgan was one of the wildcards I was really excited about this season, and I'm still waiting to see him, really make fireworks because, yeah, I think so highly of Morgan Pearson. So I want to see him on every start list. I want to see Morgan Pearson do every race basically because I
Yeah.
really enjoy watching him race. But yeah, T100 London Corner, plenty. We
Yeah.
literally just spoke about it
And
for 20 minutes.
and just because it's really fucking useful. If anybody out there wants to check start lists and stuff, then Tripole Athlete on Instagram is where we go.
Yep.
Uh, and amazing job, just constantly updating and uploading start lists, and it's so useful. We both know how hard sometimes it can be to find this information, and just having it all there laid out is amazing.
I also want to give a little shout out to Tripole Athlete for the addition of the people not racing. I love that they've
Yeah,
added that to the start. Like
really good,
again,
isn't it?
so good.
Yeah.
Like that's for me. It's because I'm like, hang on, who do I not remember
Yeah.
saying? So yeah,
Which,
absolutely.
which contracted athletes are not taking their contracts to give these
Yeah.
wildcards a spot is yeah, really useful.
So definitely, highly recommend giving them a follow. They're the best. Do you want to talk about Ironman Lake Placid?
Yeah, man, let's do that.
Just gonna
Did you
make a time.
watch Ironman Lake Placid?
I did not. I put it on for a bit and heard the commentary and went, I've got other things to do. I will watch like I said, I really like the highlights package they do now. I don't know whether it's just, I don't have an 8 hour broadcast of
No,
that
no one has that
caliber
window
in
in their
me.
day. No one has that window in their day. I kind of wish I did sometimes. This time was not one of those
Yeah.
times. Um, because, we'd gone from the high of Swansea, where I know I was on site, but I was getting so much feedback in the WhatsApp group, other DM messages from people I know saying, "Mate, this fucking the broadcast, they've done it, they've nailed it, they've included, your roaming reporters, you've got Joe Skipper, Fraser Cartmel out on course." So much love for those guys and what they contributed to that broadcast. It was a real step in the right direction, so I was told. And then I've watched the highlight package, and yes, even in the snip down version, it came across really well. Lake Placid less so. You just had Matt Lieto and Crowe somewhere. Matt Lieto probably in a box in America and Crowe in a box in
His bathroom in
Australia.
Cronulla.
Yeah. And look, man, I keep saying it. Crowe, amazing athlete, big respect. Got a lot of time for him, what he did for the sport. Well done, good work. And a trailblazer, a pioneer, someone that I couldn't even stand in his shadow, mate. But fucking hell, man, you sound so tired when you do a broadcast. You sound like you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Dude, come on. Like
There's
it's like he doesn't give a shit.
there's many things in this life that I wish I was good at, and I know that I'm not, and therefore I don't try to pursue them professionally. And
Yeah.
I feel like that might be some advice
Yeah.
for
I
Crowe.
feel like it'd be like genuinely, I know I couldn't be a commentator.
Do you know,
I don't
I'll tell you what,
I don't
I
know
have a good
the
idea for
level.
Crowe. I would love to get Crowe to be one of the people who narrates on the meditation apps or the apps that put you to sleep. You know, like the soothing, calm voice. Maybe Crowe Talks Triathlon is an app that we
Very
should pitch
calm.
him, and it
I mean, at
puts you to
one point I
sleep.
swear he yawned mid-sentence. I don't know. It just sounds it was like it's 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 very enthusiastic. And it unfortunately, You know, I know Joe and Fraser did a lot of research. I know that because I was in a little WhatsApp group with Fraser. He was sending me pictures of, him and Joe doing research. They could have just been pretending to do research.
No,
They
I
could
know
have
Joe
been
did.
posting their
Joe
journals,
did.
but
I
they
know he
did a
did.
lot of
Yeah.
research. In this particular broadcast, I listened to, I mean, I was going about my day, but I always had my phone in my pocket with the YouTube playing. So wherever I was, I could turn it up and see what was going on. So I dipped in and out. They fell back on a lot of standard talking points. They talking about cadence, talking about nutrition, and it's so
Heart rate.
net and heart rate, yeah, and generic and
Yep.
uninteresting and not individual to the athlete you're talking about. You haven't learned something interesting or new about that athlete the audience doesn't know. You're not talking about the region you're racing in and the food that region might have, the wine it might offer. I'm thinking about
Tour
Tour
de
de France
France in
broad.
it. Yes. Yeah, I got that.
You're not taking the audience on a journey through that place and what is interesting about that place, or a journey about that athlete and what's interesting about that athlete, or things you don't know. And you're just talking about cadence, heart rate, nutrition, and it's just boring, man.
Yeah. Let's not let our podcast get boring by talking about heart rate, cadence, and thinking too much. Let's talk about the actual races
My
because
nutrition is going down very well this morning.
it's a
Thank
very
you.
nice mug. It is a very nice mug. Just so everybody knows, James has also promised to go to the cinema near where he lives and get me a Superman cup. So I'm looking forward to getting my Superman cup in the mug. Seen the movie 5 times now, by the way, James. Let's talk about the men's race. In first place, we had Matthew Marquardt, won with a 7:50 flat. In second place, Christian Hogenhaug with a 7:56, 6 minutes behind. And then third place, Trevor Foley with a 7:57. Leon Chevalier in fourth place with 7:59. And Jason West on debut at Ironman distance in 8:01:59. That is a pretty impressive top five.
What is that? Leon Chevalier?
Leon
Leon
Chevalier.
Chevalier. Yeah, that's
Leon
it.
Chevalier.
That's the one, isn't it? I
That's
was getting
him.
grief today for my pronunciation of Leon Chevalier, and I think I do all right. I do better than Matt Lieto.
I think it's the shepherdess is always your low point when it comes to French pronunciation, Jimbo. Uh, Matthew
Or
Marquardt
or
is
or filet, I've
filet
had my
mignon.
my
That one's
journey,
beautiful.
the
That one's
journey with
beautiful.
the
No, no,
French.
I'm fully on board with filet mignon. I think that is brilliant. I actually know at London T100 last year when I was there with Joe and Clement Mignon was racing. Every time he'd run past, I'd yell out, "We don't like a well done filet mignon," and stuff like that. So no, that is a great one. I have no objections to filet mignon. Matthew Marquardt is crushing it this year, mate. He won
Yeah,
Cairns, and now to do this, ran a 2:39 on a tough course. Like, Trevor Foley ran what, 2:36, 2:37 last year, and everyone was like blown away by that. So for Matthew Marquardt to do a 2:39, I think we don't consider him the fastest runner in the sport. He's definitely good. I mean, he's definitely a good runner. Uh, Brilliant performance by him. I'm very impressed with
Yeah.
Matthew Marquardt.
Really stunning, stunning, working his way up through the field. Um, the dynamics of the race were interesting. You had I've spoken to Andy Horsford Turner, who, he fell back through the race. He obviously was right up there in the swim. He was leading the bike, second on the bike for a while, and then, fell back through the bike field and had a relatively solid run for the type of course that it is. Certainly in relation to some of the races he had last year. So good work, Andy. But I was talking to him and he was telling me that the bike pace on the front group was just so hot. He was holding watts that he'd never held before. He was racing above where he should be racing, and that's why he made the decision to ease backwards. Um, because he knew he was going to blow. So that front group was really shifting. Um, and that kind of played the race out as it was. At one point, it looked like Christian Hogenhaug was gonna sort of Trevor Foley and Christian Hogenhaug were the guys jostling for the win, but Matthew Marquardt with that run, you know, just put himself in that position and did the deed.
Again, I think I expected Trevor to probably run better, and maybe it is
Yeah,
that bike. I mean,
agreed.
Trevor Foley is an exceptional bike runner, like truly exceptional. But if it is as hot as you say, maybe that's why, because his run was, he ran a 2:46 compared to the 2:39 of Matthew Marquardt. Uh, yeah, maybe that's why. I
I
mean,
mean,
but
all of the top five were outside of the 230s, apart from Marquardt and Jason West, who came fifth.
yeah.
Those two athletes, two, three, and four, ran a 246, 246, 245. You mean maybe just demonstrating quite how shot their legs were from that bike. But also Lake Placid it's not a flat run course. So you're not gonna just get off a bike ride like that and do your absolute best, which in my opinion just shows quite how good Matthew Marquardt's run was.
Yeah, mate, exceptional performance. I also want to just quickly shout out Braden Curry, and it's not a positive shout out, I suppose, this time. Doesn't have an East qualification, so I've seen that he's on the start list for Leeds this weekend. I, man, I don't know what's going on with Braden Curry. I hope we see him. I hope the race goes well this weekend in Leeds if he does actually line it, but he needs that East qualification. So, yeah, just a little bit concerning, but I think really good performances. Jason West on debut, 2:37. Probably would have expected a bit more, just considering some of the other, Jason West is the run prodigy in the sport. Again, I feel like a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, when the contract 200 thing was announced, I really thought Jason West would clean up, and we've just not really seen him. And he seems like I'm really happy that he's stepping up to Ironman. Great debut, 8:01 on that course, but still, well off the 10 minutes back sort of from the win. So we'll see. But men's race, very, very good. Now you listened to last week's episode. Tell me, did I pick Matthew Marquardt for the win? I think I
I
did.
don't maybe.
I don't know.
I don't
But
I didn't retain that information.
I did pick Solveig Løvseth to win the women's race.
There you
And
fucking go, mate. That
I
is
did.
why you do what you do.
Solveig Løvseth won in a 8:43.29. She was 3 minutes ahead of Lisa Peterier. And in third place, Marta Sanchez in 8:53.07. Fourth place, Tamara Jewett, 8:55. And fifth place, you mentioned her earlier, Holly Lawrence, a really good top five again. Both men's and women's race, I think, had a very
Yeah.
good top five. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here, apart from the very impressive win by Solveig Løvseth, and we just spoke about Jason West's run. However, Tamara Jewett ran a 2:40.05 marathon on a very, very difficult course. I think only a few men, maybe two men, ran faster than her. It's diabolical. It is diabolical how fast she ran on this course.
It's good, isn't it?
It's so good. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is good. I think wasn't there a chat in the WhatsApp group the other day that this might be the second fastest run long course run by a woman in the pro field. And yeah, running a 2:40.05. I mean, it's solid. Loves it won with a 2:46.49. And then with Tamara running a 2:40.05. Solveig's the only one that came anywhere near her, and she's still 6 minutes away. The rest of them are running 2:55, 3:02, 3:02. And these are it's night and day, that run.
Yeah.
Really is, and it's astounding to see
Yeah, it really is. I think, yeah,
on this course as well.
I know.
After that
Uh,
bike on a lumpy course, a lumpy run course, it's not. Yeah, very cool. Very
she swam
cool.
59. I
Bet
think if we
Sean
can
Green
see,
exploded when he saw that result.
sorry?
Bet Sean Green exploded when he saw
Yeah,
that run result.
I know. The Canadian, the Patriot, although he told us he's Irish now as well. So I don't know if he's going to be still as blindly loyal to Canada. I'm not sure. But
Did he?
yeah, he's
He's
because he's
Irish
Canadian.
now.
He said
What?
in the WhatsApp group today, you haven't woken up to this. Yeah, apparently he got his Irish citizenship now. I don't know why. Um,
Sean Green's Irish now.
Irish
Amazing.
and
Oh, that's
Canadian.
made my
So
day. Oh, so he's retained his Canadian. He hasn't just
I,
gone full Irish.
I assume so. I didn't have that many follow. I think the only follow-up question I said is he's going to blindly follow the Canadians as blindly as he follows the
Probably.
Irish is he follows the Canadians now. But no, look, Solveig Løvseth to me is watch this space. I'm very excited to see what she does in Kona. I know we said this after Hamburg. The next couple of years, this is her first year racing Ironman. I don't probably expect her to win on debut, first year in Kona, but I think we could see the Norwegian domination start to extend into women's racing as well. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Love to see it. Love to see it. Um, yeah, Lake Placid was a good race, but for fuck's sake, consistency on the broadcast. Come on, come on, and Crowy, mate.
I know.
Oh, do a line of coke or something before you do the recording. I don't know.
Jesus,
I'm probably not
James.
allowed to say that, am I? Well, you might have to edit that out.
Nah, it's in there now. I'm not editing that out. I tell him every week that you say it's not. I love it's like one of my favorite running gags. Like James, I told Crowe, good in commentary.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I had
yeah,
to
yeah.
open. I love
And
Crowe.
you
I think
Crowy is.
he's a legend of the sport. But
Oh, totally. What a
yeah, I
guy.
know, I know.
But just because you're amazing at one thing doesn't mean you're good at everything. And yeah,
Well, just
I wouldn't
speaking
be
of
any good
that,
in the commentary box. My
just
enthusiasm level wouldn't be
well,
high enough. I'm not.
watch this for a segue. Everybody knows that you held on to Javier Gomez's feet at a Supertri race once. Nobody needs to talk about what happened on the bike and the run because you're not good at everything. But Supertri this weekend is happening for the first time this season. Toronto, Supertri. Are you excited, James Whale?
I only did the swim in that race. It was a relay race,
Okay, so
but
maybe it did work then.
I held him to the first buoy, as the Americans would say.
Can.
Um, yeah, I knew I was in trouble. I knew I was in trouble that day. I had Javier Gomez on my left, and I can't remember who was on my right, but it was another exceptional pro athlete as we ran into the water. And anyway, yes, I am excited for Super Tri Triathlon, mate. I really am. Super Tri Toronto this weekend, and as we have banged on about, they set the standard, in my opinion, for triathlon broadcasts. Now, very closely challenged by the T100 in the long course, but it's a different dynamic, it's a different kind of broadcast. It's more exciting, it's more kind of intense because of the intensity of the racing that they're on offer. And they are doing the Enduro this weekend in Toronto. And what is the Enduro again? That's the swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run, yeah? Yeah,
Correct.
so it's three triathlons in a row, which I think is one of the best formats. I used to enjoy the triple mix, but I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
I don't think they changed the orders. I think it's just the one thing. I say that. I think there is one race that is slightly different this year. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I don't think it seems to me to be the same every round now. So I'm not
Now, when
sure.
it comes to Super Try, I know you're a bit PTSD'd out with this, but you're our man in Amsterdam on this because you've been deeply, deeply, deeply involved. So what's
Yes.
your take on how things are shaping up? And I know that you were part of building the Bahrain Victorious team.
No.
Is that have I got the right name?
Crown Racing. I
Crown Race.
Crown Racing is who I sourced the athletes for this year.
So you were part
And
of building the Crown Racing team. What do you think of the state of your team and how are things going into the race? Are you going to be on the
I
ground?
no, I'm not going to be on the
No.
ground. I'm
So
not heading over.
you just get to do the admin. You're the spreadsheet man in the background.
I'm the Jerry Maguire making all the deals. Uh, I think that I think the Crown Racing is in a pretty good position. Our women's team this weekend in particular is not going to get beaten. Cassandra Bergeron, Emma Lombardi, Georgia Taylor Brown, Emma Jeffcoat. Good luck. good luck, everybody. Podium have a chance with Gian Laher, but everyone else, like, just you might as well not bother showing up, I think. The men's race is, again, I can only speak to our confirmed team. We've got Tyler Mislachuk, Charles-Barclay, Vasco Valasa, and Ricardo Batista. Again, I think a pretty decent team. There's a lot of the names. I mean, Alex Year's racing this race for Brownlee Racing. I don't know where he's at. Nobody knows where he's at. I don't think he's doing too many others this year, but no Hayden Wilde, no Matt Hauser. So many of those names that we've come to love with Supertri aren't racing it this year. So I think Crown Racing is in a pretty good spot. I am a little concerned about some of the athletes that aren't racing this year, but I love Supertri racing, and I'm at the point now where it's like, why bother questioning it? Every year I get to this point, I'm like, oh, I'm just not sure. I know it's going to go, and I know I'm going to love it, so I'm just going to
Yeah,
love
and
it.
we've been through that journey. I mean, every time they make a change or something alters, we tend to go, "Oh, we're not sure about this,"
Yeah,
and that stems right from the inception of it. And then we tend to be proved wrong. The only thing that I think I've been proved right on, I don't like the animal costumes they wore,
gone.
uh, but uh, but that has gone, thankfully. And they tend to come out and show that their change and their way of adapting works. What I'm interested in now is because they've existed for a while now. They're not the new kids anymore. So have they reached that point where they've existed for long enough that people like Supertri more than they like the athletes that are racing Supertri? Because that I think is what we're going to see this year is whether, because like you say, there are some names that aren't there that we're just so used to being there, and whether Supertri can stand alone now and be like, yeah, this racing's great even though we haven't got some of the much bigger names in the sport.
I think a good
Obviously,
test for that.
his own particular draw, so he'll come with a million viewers no matter what.
I think the real test that's going to be the Chicago race because there's a huge conflict between Chicago and the WTCS series because I think it's Frazier and another one, Carlavari maybe, but they're either side. So it would mean athletes Europe, Chicago, back to Europe, and a lot of them, again, trust me, are not doing it. Like Chicago is going to be a very different race to the rest of the series, I think. So in terms of that, Chicago will be the good tester for it because I think you're going to have one or two big names and then not many others. So I think the men's race in Chicago should be still be pretty good. I have I have no. I think it's going to be Gian Laher, and then who knows? Like literally, I don't. There's no Georgia, no Cass, no Emma. We're having to find replacement athletes for that team. Like it's yeah, Chicago's going to be the fascinating one for me in terms of that. But no, I will admit, Matt, being involved with it has been quite exciting this year. Like I've really enjoyed that component of like I haven't just who's an athlete we should sign. Like I've very much tried to assign roles, who's going to earn points in the swim, who's going to do this, who's going to, and then what I've probably been most surprised by is because again, this isn't just a team slash Crown Racing problem where there's no athletes racing this year. Every team has struggled to find the athletes this year, and I've been surprised at how many of the very good athletes I've reached out to haven't been contacted by anybody. Like I reached out to Miguel Hidalgo. There was a clash that he couldn't do, but nobody had contacted Miguel. I was like, wow, this guy's won a WTCS race this year. He's in the top five. You've got Ricardo Batista, who I contacted, Charles Piquet. Two of them are racing for us. Nobody contacted them before, and I was like, what the hell? Like, I got Miriam Cassias coming to us for Chicago. Like, there's athletes that I've gotten involved with the team, and they're just nobody had spoken to them. They just didn't think that there was a place. And even as the guy recruiting the athletes. I only had one manager actually proactively reach out to me to find out if the athlete could get a start. And I was thinking, I thought more people would be trying to get into this series. So I just think it's a very interesting time. And I suppose it is post Olympics. So a lot of athletes like what we're seeing Cass or Beth and Alex and these guys doing is a bit different. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we need those characters to build, don't we?
Mm. We do. I think that there is one athlete to watch. I tried to get him for this year. I couldn't make it work, but I'll tell you who is one to watch is Henry Graff. I said it to Tyler last week. Henry Graff, he needs to race Supertri from next year onwards, every single race. I think that kid is the future. So get excited for that. James Bale, I'm excited to record a bonus podcast with you in the next week. If people want to find out about that and other stuff about talking triathlon, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com
And
forward
Joe.
slash talk. Yeah, if you want to follow Tim, he's at T414 on Instagram. I'm Bale at Bale.James85 on Instagram. We're on Instagram as at Talking Triathlon. And if you join the Patreon group, access the monthly bonus episode and the social group, we'll put you in the WhatsApp group if you want to be in there, which is great fun, supportive, and inclusive place. And if you're not part of the Patreon group and you want to leave a comment and let us know what you think about the episode or anything else, then a comment on YouTube is always welcome.
Yeah, there's been a lot of chat in the WhatsApp group about Sam Long's latest YouTube video today, for example. So if you guys want to, you watch that video and you have thoughts that you want to discuss with people, patreon.com/talking triathlon. James, Bale, it has been a pleasure. Um, yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
See you later. Cheerio.